What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of What Are You Saying? Today, I'm your host. At this point, I gotta stop introducing myself because I feel like episode 185, everybody should know who I am by now. But we have an amazing guest today, nonetheless. He got recommended by someone who we had, Samara, the Pure Hearted. We have Basim today, and what I love about his portfolio is he's so authentic, he's so genuine. Even just talking to him for a bit off of podcast, trying to like get to know each other a bit. It seems like I already knew him personally. So, Basim, welcome to the podcast. How are you, brother?
Thank you so much. Alhamdulillah, I'm good. How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. It's still cold out here, so I'm not sure how it is where you are,
Yes,
but it's pretty
it's
cold
the
here.
same here in Denmark. It's more there's more sun out now than before, but the temperature isn't where it should be.
No,
But
it should not.
we're surviving.
Alhamdulillah, exactly. Before we start, I always love to ask people, two things. One, if you want to let people know where they can find you and follow you and find you.
Yeah, so my profile is called the Sincere Guy, and they can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. I do have a YouTube also, but I haven't committed myself enough to that. So mainly, I focus most on Instagram right now, and with that, Facebook also goes out. So yeah, that's the
MashaAllah.
platforms that I'm primarily use.
Everybody, please go follow Basim. Go show your support and love. And I actually want to ask you a
Well,
question. Allah, I mean, well, how did you come up with the names The Sincere Guy? Because that's a unique name to me.
Well, to be fair, I always liked the Sunnah guy. A lot of people know him.
Yeah.
But for me, it was about how do I see myself as a person, and I'm the best critique of myself. I always try to humble myself as possible. But people just told me whenever industry I was in, the job I've ever had in my life, that I'm first of all I'm a really bad liar. That's one thing. The second thing is that I can't lie. Like I feel so bad when I lie. So I thought, okay, and I would say with myself that I'm quite honest as a person. I don't say something just to make someone else happy. I'm quite honest with things. So I just thought, okay, what name would I put myself as a profile? And I had one before, it was called the Purify Guy, but it didn't really resonate with me because it sounds like I'm healing someone and that
Yeah.
is only Allah. So it could get there
Interpreted?
could be some issues, yeah, problem with that. So I thought the sincere seems more like me, myself. I see myself as a sincere person. Hopefully people who know me also see the same. So that's actually where it came from. It didn't start with the sincere guy.
It's actually amazing. You said something which, because you said a lot of things which I kind of relate to myself. Like you said, one thing I do agree with is like you said, like you consider yourself a bad liar, which is actually a good thing necessarily, because that means like you're always gonna. It's actually a good thing if you think about it. Because sometimes even when I lie, I have it tell. I start like laughing, and they know
Yeah,
I'm
exactly,
lying.
exactly. And I do exactly the same. And my mom has always said to me, like, just don't try because I can clearly tell on you when something's up. So
Exactly.
I didn't even try.
Yeah, honestly, it's sometimes like to your point, I do feel bad when like it's even when I have to prank my friends or I have to lie about something. I know deep down like this is not my character, but now I have to play along with it. And I feel like also the people who are listening, there's a difference between lying about maybe something you personally care about, you don't want no one to know, versus like lying
Yeah.
about something which just kind of like ruined your character. But also, I also too one thing you just said, I love how you connected the sincere guy to like your qualities as a person. 'Cause I feel a lot of the times that people are trying to find a name or find a brand, they try to change themselves
Yeah,
because they want to be accepted from the view.
exactly.
Did that matter to you? Or like, how did that come about?
Like in the beginning, when I started the profile, I didn't actually know what direction I would go to. In the beginning, I tried to do some like Islamic content, but the issue is for me with when it comes to Islamic content, first of all, I'm no sheikh, I'm no mufti. And I've noticed in general, when it comes to these Instagram profiles where people talk about Islamic content, that we tend to go to that person to seek some knowledge, and we don't even know if they have the knowledge to even give you those answers. So I turned away from that. And then I just started making content about marriage because that's a pain that I had myself. And because I had that pain, I know that I will seem truthful to my character. Because as a person, I am quite humble. I'm quite energetic, fresh, like to talk to people. I'm quite extrovert, but I didn't want to feel fake. And now I don't even know if I answered your question. But yeah, so can you answer the question again? Because I completely went off road there, I think.
No, I think the question was pretty much was like I think you pretty much answered it because a lot of people I feel like when they're picking a name, they try to
Yeah.
stay true to themselves or they try to try
Oh,
to
yeah,
get
yeah,
they try to get the reaction from people. And I think from seeing your content, and like which is my next question, I feel like you stayed true to your name in terms of your content
Oh,
that you're
yeah, in
putting
that
out.
way. Yeah, you could say that, of course, when you started the profile, it felt like demotivation that a lot of people really didn't
Mhm.
see it. But I thought, okay, why should I actually bother about that? And there was one day where I actually about to give up. And it's not only because it's about the people that you want the views and such, but it's because I chose a new direction. I left my previous business,
Mhm.
and that took me to, okay, what direction I'm going to now. So when I started this, it was also, of course, I did want to have people to see me, so I also can grow that page and give the knowledge to other people, help other people.
Yeah.
But again, I realized that why should I even care about how many people see it? Because at the end of the day, does this bring value to people? I don't want to sound like someone who just seeks attention. And by doing that, page actually grew even more. Like in the 4 months, like grew almost 40K, almost
Mashallah.
40K, right? Alhamdulillah. And that was
Alhamdulillah.
when I stopped actually looking for followers, views, and just did the content that feel original for me.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that's the biggest issue I feel like you find with people who are entering social media, because I've been on social media for the past 8 years, since
Yeah,
2018, and, the whole podcast narrative has changed, like, with our group and then, like, how to what it is now, and the biggest thing is a lot of the times you realize that sometimes you're like, even, like, with the podcast, the inception of this podcast started as, like, a motivational thing. Ironically enough, none of us were, like, consistent with how we're working. We're saying we wanna do things, but we're not acting on it, right? And in my head, I'm like, "How am I telling someone to work hard when me, myself, I'm not, like, spending hours on learning the business of podcasting, like going networking myself. And I find a lot of the times people, that's why I took to my earlier question to you. And it's gonna bring me to my next point. My earlier question to you was why it's so important to stay true to yourself, because I was reading a post which once captivated me. And the reason why it captivated me because I actually related to it. Back when I
yeah,
was 24 years old, I saw a post of yours where you said you feel bad like in the first moment of your kid, like your firstborn's like child, because you weren't as present because you were always working on your business. And I think
yeah.
a lot of brothers, and myself included, I always had this mindset back when I was, like, younger. I need to be more career financially ready before I go get married.
Yeah, yeah, a
From
lot
your
of people think
personal
that.
experience, when brothers have that mindset, why do you think it's detrimental to them?
Like, yeah, you think about the financial, have the
The
stability before
financial,
you get
like,
married.
being stable,
Yeah,
yeah, and then, like, I can't get married now versus, like, marriage opens barakah.
I think, yeah, I think it's actually truly about, do you actually believe that? What do you believe the barakah comes from?
Mhm.
So when I got married, I was 20, and I wasn't the spiritual level that I see myself as now. I didn't think about the financial as such, because at the end of the day, it's what you choose to live like. And I think, of course, there's the mahar and the wedding expenses that people are worried about. But about the financial stability, I got married when I was studying and I had a part-time job and I was making, like, I don't know in US dollars how much it is, but it wasn't a lot. So I got married to my wife without, even her family knew that I wasn't like a financial strong or anything. But they saw the person she was marrying and not what the financial level I was in or my education level. They didn't look at that. They look at, okay, I'm a, this person, and also because my father is quite known as a man for his characteristics. Because of that, also that helped me. But to the brothers who delayed, I think it's at the end of the day, it's what of expectation do you have about the marriage? Basically, because it's not about the financial always. Of course, it could be nice and it should be a little bit financial stability just so you can have a life, have a home, and get the necessary needs. But to delay it just only because of that, because at the end of it, you could do the nikah and you can extend the wedding walima if you want to do that. You don't need to do all these things. So I think it's a lot about the expectation people, and I think a lot of people are just immature when it comes to it. Because you never be ready really. I don't think there's a time where you think I'm getting ready to get married now. It just comes
Agreed.
with time. Yeah, you need to seek it yourself before it's going to come to you, anyways.
I had this conversation with my friend yesterday because I was telling him, like, that I'm recording with you, and I remember I told him the same thing you just said. I'm like, "You'll never be," because I'm not personally married right now, though I'm in my 30s.
Yeah, inshallah.
Inshallah, one day. I mean, but I remember I told him, I'm like, "You'll never be ready." So, like, me and him are like, we're only 1 year apart, and I said, "When you want to open a business, you're not going to be ready. You're not going to know. You have to go put yourself in that
No.
situation and start learning." And
Yeah.
I told him with marriage, it's similar thing. No one's going to give you a manual, because what works for one person is going to be different for the other person, and vice versa. And I think that concept of, like, I remember when I was 24, I would always say, "Yeah, like, this sister was asking me, she was like, why aren't you married?" And in my head, my answer was always, well, because it was like money driven. I'm like, no, I need to, like, be successful. I need to be the top guy. I need to be this. But in my head, I'm like, I can look at how skewed my mindset was, because it was coming from a secular point of view, where they always tell you, get ready. And there's nothing wrong. I believe if you believe you need to be somewhat financially ready, that's subjective because what you would believe is financially ready versus someone else are two different things. And I think that was my biggest problem. And I think brothers have this problem where, or like their mindset of, like this alpha male mindset or whatever this Andrew Tate mindset is, and then they're like, oh, well, I need to have money in order to take care of you. But I always go back to who's the true Razzaq? It's Allah. It's not your company because you can get laid off tomorrow,
Yeah,
right? And I think,
exactly. And
yeah,
that's the thing because I have met a lot of people, all of my friends who I was the first one of all my friends to get married.
mashallah.
I was 20 when I did it, but I was 15 when I talked about marriage that I wanted to get married. So I was
Uh-huh.
quite early on because at the end of the day, I saw the life that some of my friends still live to this day. I don't want to live that life. I want to build something because at the end of the day, the marriage is about building your akhirah with the opposite gender.
Yeah.
And it is difficult. It's not an easy job. But the financial, because the thing is, like me and my wife, we have experienced all different kinds of aspects in life with financials and all kind of tests. And it actually just makes you stronger because those dark times is actually what shows the kind of relationship that we actually have with each other. Because if you only have the good times, then is it really real? Does it make sense? Or
That's
what
so
is it
true.
about? Yeah. So I was so young, immature. I didn't have the understand financially. I didn't even understand my roles as a husband. What should I have to do? And that's the thing. I realized with time, just by learning a little bit about the Prophet ﷺ and our deen in general, our deen has made all the steps so easy and clear about what it
Mhm.
actually is about. But the thing is, we get influenced by social media. We get influenced by uh, people. We listen to family, friends. We don't listen to ourselves. We listen to other people.
Yes.
And I believe that's the reason why also why some delayed and why so many people end up divorced nowadays, unfortunately.
That is very true. You mentioned something I really wanna go more into depth. You're talking about the roles, like, like, you either know the roles of, like, what is to be a husband. Now, if someone's listening, like, who is not as educated about marriage or, is getting to that close to that age where he feels he doesn't wanna do haram, but he really wants to, like, meet someone. What would you say is some roles that they should really work on in terms of, before, like, going to a sister?
Yeah, I would say before you even get to that point, it's about fixing yourself. And if it's about, if you have something haram related to, if it's a relationship you have, or some people go out partying, unfortunately, or some people have addiction to adult content, all these kind of things. I'm just not going to
Mhm.
fix that. Not at all. Like I know people who still does it to this day and they
Yeah.
are married because they thought these things will fix themselves. But it's the acknowledgement of, okay, I have some mistakes and I need to work on those mistakes. How do I work on them? And the cheat code is easy, is get
Mhm.
back to my creator. Don't see myself as a failure because is what going to put you even further down the road. If you start with just connecting to your creator, because that's what I think most people lack, is that we have more of a cultural understanding of marriage than an Islamic one. And when you connect to your creator and Islam and you seek more knowledge and understand it more and become more disciplined, then you know and understand, okay, now I have more of the necessary means to get married because I have built my character now and everything else is just going to follow. But if I go into this marriage with these problems, my wife is just going to get exposed to all these things that I have issues with. And
Yeah.
is she going to stay for that or is she just going to give up at some point because I'm not going to change? If I didn't change before, why should I change for someone else?
That is so true. And either you heard our conversation the other day because it's like I feel like everything you said, I love it. And I think the biggest thing I want to touch on too is how adult content still affects a lot of brothers who are married. And a lot of people say, like I know
Yeah.
there's always this saying amongst different communities, like me being like Arab, but there's always communities, oh, like marriage will fix you. Marriage will not fix you. If you have an alcohol problem, if you have a smoking problem, if you have an adult, it's still gonna be there until you yourself try to like help yourself by moving, like by drifting away from it. And I feel like the biggest thing is marriage. And one time I was watching this video where it's like your spouse will like mirror you. So like I always tell people, I'm like, in a sense, if you're, and I'm like, I would never judge anybody for their faults. I understand like a lot of things are hard to get away from, whatever the thing that the trial that you're facing. But I do believe marriage is not that answer. Marriage is like I look at as companionship. I was like, you're here to like protect each other, like fulfill your duties amongst each other. But if you feel like it's almost as if you're stealing, getting a job is not going to help. Like you're still going to steal,
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
right? And I feel like
But the
also a
thing
lot.
is, also, yeah, it's also about you have to put the sins or bad things that you do in perspective. So, for
Mhm.
example, smoking, yes, it is bad, but does that mean that you won't be able to manage a relationship? No, it's an addiction, of course, but it's not the worst of kind that exists. Alcohol is a
Mhm.
big problem because
Yeah.
you intoxicate yourself and you're not in your full self. And also, just by if you go on Instagram, for example, and when you go on you choose what to see on your Instagram. So if you see only women, drugs, about money, all these things, your mind is going to be focused on only that. But if you change it to seek knowledge regard business, marriage, Islam, whatever it could be, you can also find that. So it's
Yeah.
about the direction you choose. It's also going to define who you're going to become at the end of the day.
Like, I don't wanna be sound like those people that talk about motivation, but it is really in a sense a mindset, like where your heart's at, where the stage of your heart. And to your
Yeah, it
point
is.
about the point of, like, you going on social media, like, for example, I was telling my friends the other day, I'm like, sometimes if you ever look at my phone, I was at Friday prayers yesterday, and I was telling my friend, who I haven't seen in a long time, because he was asking about the podcast, and I told him, "If you look at my phone, you'll see, like, probably 7 to 9 hours a day because I'm just looking to guests to interview, like, seeing their content." And he's like, "Bro," he's like, "Why are you spending so much time?" But it's in my head, like, just based off what you just said right now, there's a lot of people who are consuming alcohol content or like, a lifestyle that is portrayed to be nice for the young bro like to these young guys. Because hey, if you don't have this girlfriend, you're not alpha. If this girl doesn't look certain way, you're not beautiful.
Yeah.
We're allowing a system to manipulate even people who are married because you do feel insecure sometimes. And if you're not able to be
Yeah, of
certain for
course.
yourself, you're gonna start believing people's antics, saying, "Oh well, if I don't do that, I'm gonna be like that. Oh, I won't be like that." Sorry, to your point about relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so important because when you have that relationship, even in your own fitna, yes, you're gonna fall short a lot of times, but you'll still go
100%.
back and see, no, Allah has me, and He's gonna take care of me. And I think that's really important to establish.
Yeah, exactly. But because the relationship with Allah is a culture based or um, is a religious based. For example,
Mhm,
when I grew up, I came from a Pakistani culture. You were
mhm.
Arab, right?
I'm Palestinian.
Yeah, Palestinian. Okay, mashallah. So when I grew up, I had like when I went to the masjid, it was like if you do this, you go to hell.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, if I'm already doomed to go to hell, why should I change? But then as I grew older and I left college, that's when I got engaged to my wife. And I think even the first year of our marriage, I wasn't really at that spiritual level. And what was so profound to me is that, even I said that you should get prepared and all these things, I wasn't prepared. Like, I was mentally not prepared at all, even though I got married. I didn't have any clue what I was doing. But the thing that amazed me was that my wife was the one who told me, please go and pray,
yeah,
do this. And she asked me questions. Do you know when is this? Do you know when is that? I was like, no, I don't know. And she started to put these questions in my head. I actually don't know a lot of stuff. And then I went to the local mosque we have. I used to go there just because, this guy was talking Turkish and he was quick as possible. So you went in
mhm,
and you went out. That was Juma for us. But then
yeah,
one day there was a guy who talked Danish, not
yeah,
Turkish, not Urdu, Pakistani, whatever it could be. And then I actually understand what he's saying. And it hit me so hard from that day that I actually started going to the masjid myself. Like I could relate to what he was saying. And it was the first time I ever heard an imam talking about some of the things you're experiencing in your life when you're younger and such. So I went there and I continued to go there. And, suddenly, subhanAllah, realized more about myself and that okay, I don't actually know who my creator is. That's my whole issue. I don't have an understanding of who is my creator. And then we start looking into it. You hear all these tafsirs, explanation, Bilal Asad, Mufti Ming, all these people. When they explain Islam to you, you actually fall in love with it. You can't do anything else.
yeah,
But when I heard it when I was younger, I was afraid of it.
yeah.
So I think that's also a lot of thing that happens is that because some people go to the mosque just to get it over with, and some actually go there just to seek some knowledge, to get some connections, get a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
I wanna go touch on a couple things. First thing you said about how, sheikhs, like, when you were younger, they'd be like, "Oh, if, you watch, adult content or do drugs, it's haram." And I think there's a that's the obvious answer, you should always like, that everybody would know. But I feel like I was talking to a lot of sheikhs and imams on my podcast, and one of them, his name is, Bilal Al-Qadri. Shout out to him 'cause he said something where he being born in the West, like, had faced his own struggles. He spoke about it openly. When he speaks to young brothers and sisters who are like dealing with, his like trials, whether it's adult content from both men and women, people think, oh, it's only men who struggle with it. Women struggle with it as well. Then you have like drugs and
Yeah, the
alcohol.
statistics are quite high there when it comes to Muslims. Yeah,
It
unfortunately.
is really high. So then what he said is, he's like, I don't go and say it's haram. I try to break down the core reasons to why they started and what it's why they're like why they continue to go back to it. Because I feel like we people living in Europe, North America, like me living in Canada, and then like America, we all have faced these, or even the Middle East, we're all facing these difficulties. And the newer generation now, with social media being so powerful, and yes, it can be used for positive and negative, but a lot of the times you see there's a lot of negative influence from, certain people promoting certain platforms to go on or whatever it might be. I think it's really important that imams are actually taking the time when a brother goes to you and says, "Hey, I need help. I'm struggling with this." Because if you give them that answer is haram and they shut them down, what they're gonna do is they're gonna start going to their friends. Oh, see, I told you he's gonna say that. Just be here. We're accepting you for your mistakes. They're judging you for your mistakes. We have to teach them. It's like, okay, you made a mistake. Allah, and we got like, how you said knowing your creator? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has never none of his names are other the non-forgiver. It's the most
Exactly.
merciful, the
That's
most
changed the whole
benevolent.
thing. Yeah.
That's how we should teach us. Like, you know what, you made a mistake. Allah forgives. Okay. How can we help you? Okay, you smoke 5 cigarettes a day? Okay. Not the best, but how can we get it down to like four? Okay, let's get it down to four and we'll track it. You got it down to four? And then the person will be more excited. Let me get it down to three. Let me get it down to one. Let me get it down to zero. That's how you work with these Muslim brothers, because we are the future one. And to
Yeah.
be, yeah, and that's how I look at it. Like, I always try to like advise. A kid goes up to me at the mosque who I knew because I used to volunteer with his sister. And mashallah, now he's grown. He goes up to me and he says, so in Canada, you have like to get your driver's license, you have like three steps. You have your written test, you have your like the second step where you're able to drive by yourself, and the last test where you have to go on the highways and the freeways. That's where
Okay.
like you're fully licensed. So he was
Okay.
telling me, he's like, yeah, he's like, I drive. I'm like, dude, I'm like, you're only like 16. I'm like, how like you only have your written test? He's like, yeah, but like my friends also drive and they're good drivers. I'm like, let me tell you something. I'm like, forget death at this point. I'm like, you're gonna get yourself really in trouble if you get caught by a police officer. But again, because he thinks he's indestructible, so I feel like now I became a dad in this mosque. I'm like, dude, do not do that. I'm like, I'm not gonna go to your dad. I don't know how to address this to your family, but you gotta
Yeah.
stop, because I'm like, you're putting yourself in danger. I feel like we need those people like yourself, Allahumma barik, like you going putting those videos to educate these young youth. Because I feel like a lot of the times, in my opinions, I might get a lot of heat. Some of the imams aren't doing the best job in terms of, spreading the message.
Yeah, and I think also, now I'm a father of two children, and I also had like I was a barber before, and
Mhm.
I had a lot of young kids from my cousins, their friends, and such.
Yeah.
And they had so much respect for me, but not because I judged them or anything, but I talked to them in their own level. I didn't talk to someone who was better than them or something. Like I
Yeah.
could go tell some of my these guys before they came in for an appointment, go grab some donuts for me, go ahead,
Yeah.
get this drink for me. Which one do you want? Where should I get it from?
Mhm.
They didn't even say no. I asked the question, I can't do it. They just, which one do you want? It just surprised me, something like that. And even with, I remember with my father, I always used to see him as the perfect role. So he couldn't make any mistakes. So I saw myself as a
Mhm.
disappointment when it came to that. And I think that's the same. Like we think of imam, sheikh, and people who have long beard when we're in that age, that all these people are perfect. They can't do anything
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah, but they made a
And
mistake.
because we think they made mistakes, everybody's gonna make mistakes. And that's the thing. If you accept that you're gonna make mistakes, you just gotta put yourself off from that. It's just as simple as
Mhm.
that. And even, I talk to some of my friends when it comes to homosexuality. That's also a big
Mhm.
discussion there is in the West.
Huge.
And I will ask some of them, what would you do if one of your children, may Allah forbid it, came to you and said, I'm gay?
Yeah.
I'll throw them out. Said to me, I was like, okay, is that gonna make them go even deeper into the thoughts they have, or further away? Deeper down, because you just disclose them. Like you don't want anything to do with them. And
Mhm.
that's with anything, like even with the imams, if you judge someone and don't give him a solution or hope for anything, then he says it's going to go that direction. So instead of, if a parent heard that from his child, then you would probably say the best solution for me is to say that I do understand you have these feelings. For example, Islam, it says that it's allowed to have these thoughts. You don't get a sin for that, but you do get a sin if you act upon it.
Act on it,
That's the
yes.
difference. If you think a girl is attractive even though you're married, you don't get a sin for that. You get a sin if you act
Act on
upon
it.
it.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. I think that's what people don't realize. But now, alhamdulillah, in our age, we do have a lot of YouTube where you can seek knowledge from sheikhs, imam, muftis, all these people who actually they show more of the beauty of Islam. Like Ar-Rahim, he's Ar-Rahman, most forgiving, most merciful. He only had good names, all these things.
Mhm.
But so I think that when people now, when you talk about Islam, it's not about the negative because that's what I was used to when I was younger. All about the scary part of our creator, not the good part. When I first heard, this actually changed my whole perspective on Allah was when I heard the way he introduced himself in the Quran, like Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And then when people told me what it actually about, I was like, okay, if he introduces himself as that, that means he doesn't want to punish anyone. He actually gives you, even if you've done the biggest sins in life, and this story really, I love the story about the man, who killed 99 people.
Yes.
Like just that one, if you hear the story and you know the story, then you'll know that no matter how many mistakes you made in your life, as long as you repent with sincerity, you're good. Inshallah, you're
Yeah.
good. Of course, like he doesn't want to punish us. He didn't create Jahannam to punish us because he wants to, but some people deserve to, unfortunately.
It's there's so much you said I gotta, like, take in, it's because when we think of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, I was talking to my friend about it, I'm like, people should think of Allah as their friend. It's like when in a sense where when you're asking Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, like, in terms of dua, it's like, never think you're over asking. In fact, ask as much as you want, like, "Ya Allah, I want this, ya Allah, I want that." Even about marriage, like, even, like, I was telling my friend the other day because, like, we're both in, like, searching, and I remember I told him that ask Allah when you're asking for a wife, ask Him for, one that you're compatible with in all realms. Like, make it as deep as possible and make that continuous. And obviously make it sincere. But I feel like, some of the Imams, I will give it to them. They're doing a great job in terms of, like, this brother who we've had on the podcast. He's gotten really big in the past couple of years now. Osama Sharaf, I'm not sure if you've seen him. Brother Osama.
Is the him from Canada?
He's from Canada, yeah.
Oh yeah, he has. Yeah, I love him. I love him.
Yeah, he's actually, I mean,
The curly one with the curly
yeah,
hair, right?
curly hair with the
Yeah,
glasses.
I love him. He's one of the most beautiful persons I ever seen on social
Yeah,
media.
subhanallah, fun story about him quickly is, I met him on there's an app called Clubhouse that was, like,
Yeah,
big during COVID time, so I was on it, and I met him through there, and he's like we both found out we live in the same city in Canada,
yeah,
and then I got him back in 2021, and then in 2023 early he messaged me, he's like, "Hey, I'd love to come back, you guys are doing some great things." We haven't gone back since he got way big, of course, his schedule's huge, but shout out to him, but I feel like he's doing a great job in terms of teaching the right way of Islam. We even had someone else, his name is, Sheikh Abdel Fattah Tawakkul. He is a goodness, what's the word he does? He works with the federal police, but as a, I forget the word, but I'll have to message you later, but pretty much he's like a volunteer where he works for the federal government and, like, helping police or, like, the federal government deal with Muslims, like, in their communities, like, how, like, he kinda educates them, he goes around different, like, schools, the different, like, police departments and helps them educate them on Muslims and how to, like, approach certain situations, and something he said to me because he's also, like, he's studying to become a psychotherapist, and he said to me why him as a man, when someone comes up to him for a problem, he actually listens to them, and sometimes he's like, he urges parents, it's like, how you said regarding the homosexuality, like, if you find, like, the biggest thing is if someone finds out their kid's watching, like, adult content, there's gonna be, like, fist flying probably back in the day, but now
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
your son or daughter is curious. You need to now, like, have that conversation with them because if you ask a lot of
yeah,
people
yeah,
who
yeah.
were born in our time, they probably never had to talk with their parents because it's like it's always taught as it's haram. It's like you have to start breaking down things and allowing because your kids are more curious, way more there now than when I was 10. I was talking to my friend the other day, like yesterday when I saw him, someone else, and I was like, imagine, like, look at me and you when we were 10 years old versus the 10 years old now because of how advanced
Yeah.
they are in terms
Completely
of
different.
completely different. I'm like, when you were 10, you were just hoping to come back from school watching a TV show. Like, now kids,
Yeah.
I'm like, they're watching their favorite streamers or, like, TikTokers, and a lot of the stuff, yeah, is captured. It can legit draw you in. These guys know exactly what they're doing. That's why knowing your creator is really important. You're gonna, like, to anybody who's listening, either I don't care if you're the most religious person in the world, you're gonna fall down one day and you're gonna, like, feel bad about yourself, and no one here is to judge anybody, but I feel like the purpose of education, educating other young brothers, like, I feel like I always have this debt because I've, like, been around my high school, seen so many things that I was witness to, so I always tell brothers, I'm like, "Hey, I seen people go down this route, it's not for you. Just, like, stay away from this." I always feel like I have this debt because of, like, I don't wanna see nobody go down this route or none of that, and I feel like when one time a brother goes to me, he's like, "Yeah, I wanna get married." I'm like, "How old are you?" He's like, "I'm 18." But I'm like, "You're going out 24/7." I'm like, "You're trying to bring the girl down with you?" I'm like, and then my friend was, like, advising, "Yeah, I get married." I'm like, "Don't do that." Like, I'm like, "Clearly we both know he's facing some problems, he's doing some antics." I'm like, "Bro, marriage is not gonna solve him and make him a next sheikh." I'm like, "Don't do that. Don't advise marriage. That's not some good advice."
Exactly. Even when it comes to children and all these things, advice, like I've seen on my own daughter, for example, she's 4. I just seen how I just seen how much, actually means that the both of the parents are God conscious. Like,
Yes.
for example, my daughter, she's told me two different things actually to me. She blew me completely away. Like, one day I was putting on her shelves and I told her, give me some money. I put in some hard work for you. You need to give me some money. I was like, no, Baba, you can't take my money. That's stealing. And then she said to me, you should ask Allah for money instead. And I was so shocked. I was like, how do you know this stuff? I haven't told her, like, I have told her, of
Yeah.
course, that Allah is creating everything and all these things. But I had never told her that you go to Allah and ask Him for money before you get it.
Yeah.
Of course, you have to do your part. But I was so amazed, like a 4-year-old child can tell me this. And then one day we were at a shopping mall, and I was in my head, I have this car that is a bit old now, and I'm not happy with it and all these things. And in my head, I was thinking, freaking car, hate it. Why is
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
The other one I have is so good. Why do I have this? Why in this situation? And as far my daughter suddenly she's looking at Baba. You shouldn't be unhappy with the car you have, and you shouldn't sell it and buy a new one. But he said Allah is gonna give you the car you want one day, and even more than that. I was like,
SubhanAllah.
where do you get this from? It was so weird. I don't know if I said something, but it was just the way she said something. That was the fitra,
Yeah, I was just
her
gonna
fitra
say.
speaking. I need to feel that fitra now even more than ever before, because she's a stage at 4 years old where she's so much God conscious. Even she says like things like the people who don't pray salah is bad person.
Yeah.
Where do you get these things from?
Mhm.
And that just comes from because me and my wife, we're God conscious. We both pray, alhamdulillah. She wears a hijab, and when I take my daughter out for swimming, I call my aura, not to say something special about myself, but we're conscious about these small things that it affects our children in ways that we don't actually notice.
Even, like, with me, like, I don't have kids personally 'cause I'm not married, but even with I see with my niece and my nephew, like, my nephew's a lot younger. He's I think only a year and a couple of months, but my niece is a lot older. She's turning 3 this year, and I
Yeah,
realized how,
Mubarak.
like, Allahumma ameen, may Allah and bless you. I remember when I was, like, sometimes I talked to her, like, we always try to, like, give her, like, Islamic things. I'm like, "No, haram, no, don't do that." Like, we always try to because kids learn fast and they learn anything from you because they're quick. So I remember like one time, so then I realized I'm like, no, I gotta be really careful what I say. So like now I'm always like reminding her, talking to her, like like of course like making her happy. And I remember I was talking to my sister, and I told her, listen, because she's like, stop. She's like, stop spoiling my daughter. I'm like, no, the reason why I love buying your kids gift is not because I never want them to feel that they have to go elsewhere and get it from someone else. Like they can always feel the love from family. So I feel like when
Yeah,
that's why
yeah.
I can't even I don't like, even talking about my niece when she's upset, I don't like it. I feel like it breaks my heart. I'm like, so many things like, my friend could be upset, it will not affect me as much as, like, my niece being upset. Because at that point, I feel like the to your point about the
That's your
fitna,
weak.
she'll, like, touch my heart, and I feel like me and her have a special bond where she'll sit on my lap and, like, we're talking, and then, like, I'll play games with her, and then I feel like I don't get bored with her. Like, I could be sitting like, I would stop a whole day of work just to, like, chill with her because I feel like it's so important to show your kids love, and as your to your point, also be God conscious because then they learn from you. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
like,
they do.
sometimes you hear a song nostalgically start playing, but then you wanna make sure that they learn the concept of who Allah is very, very young because, when you get
Yeah.
older, they're gonna start questioning, and it's already enough that things on social media are there's some great content, alhamdulillah, like yourself and everybody else who is doing content, but I do believe that, we as parents as well, people have to do a better job in terms of ensuring their kids are safe and feel home, so they don't have to get their opinion from outside.
Yeah, 100%. Even with my children, my daughter doesn't even know how to use a phone. A lot of people at her age knows how to use it. Even my son, he doesn't know how to use it.
Mhm.
Like, even when she watches some animation on the iPad, I have to, change it or anything. Clearly, it doesn't know what she's doing.
Yeah.
And it's because, I want to protect her from it because I can see clearly, like, even music is not played. I don't play music in the
Uh-huh.
car or anything. We have, this Zayn Bika is called, like, nasheeds for
Yeah.
children. Omar Hana, I try to show them as much as
Yeah,
possible.
yeah.
But of course, you can't avoid it all. We do. It's just a small thing. And even if she does something, a bad thing, then it's like, oh, Allah's not going to be happy. And it's like,
Yeah,
should
yeah.
I tell him? No, no, don't tell him. you know,
Cool.
and it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Most beautiful experience. I wouldn't, maybe 10 years ago, I wouldn't even think about how beautiful this is. But
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
when it's my own child and I experience like the God consciousness, like, and that's what part of, Islam, like Allah says that every person is born Muslim, and they have a fitrah, and it's the parents who take them away from Islam, the way they're
Uh-huh.
brought up, and now I see it on my own children. I can tell like a 4-year old is telling me stuff that a child shouldn't just normally know.
Yeah.
And I think that's really beautiful.
It is. I think to your point about, like, being God conscious is because your kids learn from you, like, the kids learn from you.
Yeah,
Like,
they do.
they will 100% learn from you. That's why, for example, like, even my sister, to her point, like, where she lives, she's even have the TV. Like, the only time my niece watches TV is when she comes here, and she doesn't
Mm.
give her the iPad anymore, the phone, because we don't know what she's clicking. So at least it's like when we're with her on TV, someone's paying attention to, like, the content, and then, like, when she'll say, "Put this video," but my sister's like, "There's no TV." Like, when I go to her house, there's no TV in sight. She does not want her to get attached to the devices, which I believe is a great thing because also because, like, me and my sister and my brother, we all got the time to play outside, and technology, like, 20 years ago, wasn't even as advanced, and she wants to do the same thing with the kids, so she'll go, like, to the driveway and, like, play with them, hopscotch, whatever it is that kids love to do, and, like, the only time she tells us she watches TV, and when she knows she's coming here, we just put her, like, some little, like, TV kid shows for toddlers, and then she'll get bored, then she wants to go play because now she's like, she just wants to play, she don't watch TV no more. I think my sister got the
Yeah.
TV out of her.
Yeah.
And, yeah, subhanAllah. But I was gonna ask you about regarding God consciousness is, how important do you believe it is to have, like, before you even get married? Knowing your creator.
I think it's really, really important. I just need to correct this one. So I would say what I've experienced basically is when people get married out of, just love, I tend to see where there's not a lot of God conscious. I tend to see that the marriages break. Maybe 1 year, 2 years, 5 years. It's going to break at some point because you don't have the simple foundation that's going to keep it strong. Because at the end of the day, some people think that, oh, it's going to be so lovely. You're going to travel, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, but that's not the reality. That's just not how it is. And then there's someone who marries someone, but of the qualities that person have, Islamically, mostly the first one. Do they pray? Are they dressing appropriately? Are they doing this? And I was saying that, oh, if you're marrying a brother, if you're a brother and you need to marry someone who has a hijab and all that, no, because there's sisters who doesn't wear hijab who's also good Muslims.
Mhm.
That doesn't define you necessarily, but there's just some of these qualities that you need to have, because especially for a man, you need to lead your wife. If you can't lead your wife, then it's going to be really bad. And she needs someone to lead. She needs someone. So I think it's really important before you get married that you have that foundation. And I'm saying you have to be perfect, but at least the 5 daily prayers is really important because your child is going to mirror that and your spouse is going to mirror that. If
Yeah.
you marry someone who's not praying, like a sister, for example, if you're a brother marrying a sister, and you're not yourself have a strong deen, you're not praying yourself, then most likely one of you are going to adapt one of the each other's values. But if you have the same values, then you have nothing to adapt. You just grow together.
Yeah.
I've seen it before where I've seen Muslims who are Muslims, but they don't really practice it the way it should be, or at least the bare minimum. And then they get married to someone who maybe isn't at the same religious level, more cultural, I would say.
Yeah.
Then they do get married, and then the children mirror that, unfortunately.
Mhm.
So I think
Agreed.
it's really important to have that foundation, prayer, and the consciousness, having the what do you call it? The consciousness of doing something right and wrong, and differentiate between them, and that you do feel bad when you do something bad. Just by yelling at your wife, let's say for example that you feel
Yeah.
bad by doing it. You don't feel like, oh, I did the right thing, because then you're ignorant.
Yeah.
No,
Agreed.
you need to be God conscious. So it's about humbling yourself. That's why I think it's so important before you even go to that point of getting married.
Like, because you mentioned love marriage, I feel like a lot of the time is when I talk to people who are like, this is my circle, or people who I know, work with, whoever it
Yeah.
might be. They're always like, I love this person, and I'm like, but I told them, are you like? I remember I had spoken to different people, coworkers, and whatever. I'm like, so would you love this person if in a heat of an argument, you guys are disagreeing? Sometimes in a moment, I said, when you get argued with your friend on a micro scale, you're gonna go home and be like, man, this person pissed me off today. But then when
Yeah.
you get over it, right? Because I always tell people, and I spoke to Sister Naima B. Robert. I'm not sure if you're aware of her. Amazing, like in the
I don't
college.
think so.
And I remember she was saying she's like in the heat of the moment, and I kind of agree with this point. yeah, you're gonna go home and be like, because if you use your emotions to think, you're gonna go crazy. Like, to your point about yelling on your
Exactly.
life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Versus using your emotions to think, saying, "Why am I upset?" Well, I'm upset because my wife made me feel like this. I'm upset because, Osama and Basim on the podcast said this, I disagree with it. But when you calm down and maybe you see our perspective, you'll understand. A lot of the times we use our emotions to deliver, and even Bilal Assad, who's like notably for saying is like when you're angry, your thought process delayed by 10 seconds because now you're just trying to like it's like almost that quote which I love. There's a difference between listening and hearing. A lot of us which we want to no we don't want to listen to the other person. We just want to like you need to listen to my opinion. I don't care about what you have to say. And I think when it comes to love marriages, I think that's exactly it because you took me only for the purpose of my aesthetics and how I look, not because of like what I have to bring, my connection to Allah, my character. Because a lot of the times, like I always tell people, I'm like, Deen is really important. That's between you and Allah. Whatever you do, sadaqah, zakat, like all that is between you and God. I'm like, your character is also really, really important. And I tell people,
Hundred.
there's a lot of Muslims who pray 5 times a day, but they are the most rude people on earth. And it's like that takes away. And I'm like, what? This is actually a funny moment. Last year, I think it was Yom Arafah before like the day of Eid al-Adha. I had gotten Uber Eats, and this is a perfect point. I'm watching on my GPS. I'm like, where's this guy going? Like he's not coming to my street. So I guess he goes the long way, comes back. But I opened the door because I'm at this point I'm just hungry. Like it's already time to eat, and this guy was like taking his like sweet time. I hear him like screaming at his wife. I'm like in Arabic, he's like cussing at her, and I'm like, this is awkward. So I close the door because I'm like, I don't want to like be eavesdropping on a conversation. I just saw on my GPS. But in my head, I'm like, okay, this person could have been praying 5 times a day, doing whatever. But then you publicly humiliated yourself. And like, in my opinion, I always tell people, like, look at the person's character. That's really important. How they treat, like, how they are with their friends, who their friend group is, how they are in the mosque. One brother told me, he's like, if you ever want to get married, go to your local. Like he was saying advice to their sisters. He's like, go to the local masjid and ask about the brother there. Is he there? Does he go
Mm.
pray Maghrib? Does he go pray Fajr? Is he volunteering? Because he's like, that's a great indication to see in terms of like how people speak about them.
Yeah, I think also because now I've talked to quite a few people who are mostly sisters who are married to someone who does pray and all that, but the characteristics doesn't match the Islamic values. And I tell a lot of people that you can tell clearly from a person if he is how in the level. Not that I can judge, the tawakkul, and it's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like learning the Prophet Prophet's character. For example,
Mhm.
the best example I can give you, for example, when my wife asked me to do, if I can help her take the vacuum and just clean the floor, pick up the toys from the kids that they put down, or whatever small thing it could be. I don't do it because I don't say, I'm not like, oh no, it's your job. It's not her job only. It's also my job. It's my children also.
Yeah,
And when you read about the process, he did help his wife.
yeah.
I remember his name, but he is also from America. He's also quite known and talks about marriages and I don't remember his name.
Is he really
But
known?
yeah, he's really known.
Okay.
Dark
Omar Sule-
skin.
Omar Suleiman.
No, no, it knows Omar Soleiman.
Sheikh Abdullah Oduro.
Yeah, exactly. That.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've had him as well. He's a good guy.
yeah, and he talks about when your wife gets angry, don't respond to her in the same way, and that is so true. You don't fuel fire with more fire. Does it make sense? You don't spread the fire, you try to shut
Agreed.
it down.
Well
And
said.
of course, you're a human being, so you will do sometimes it will happen. But what do you do afterwards? Are you keeping a complete silence? Or are you
Mhm.
actually trying to make it work? And these things you can tell on people, you can tell how they talk when you find a spouse, how do they talk to the family? Are they too perfect? Because when someone seems too perfect, clearly, for me, that's a bad sign. When you
Yeah,
have a conversation with them, are they how are they? Are they trying to look down? Are they staring at you? Where are their eyes going? All these things, when you see these things and you meet them a couple of times, eventually one day they can't hide it if they're faking it.
yeah.
So that's the thing. Like, for example, my wife, when we two got, it was arranged, of course. So it was through my father. He had a friend, guy had a daughter, and I didn't even think about all these things. I just know okay, my dad approves this one. My mom said, okay, let's just do it. So I did it quite without actually know anything, and we only talked a few couple of times.
Yeah.
But and that's the point that I realized that it doesn't really matter who you marry and all these things. If your values align, then it works. It doesn't. It's not about the love because the love that exactly you said before, a love marriage. You're only marrying someone you just see right now. You don't see them how they are to live with. you don't know all these things. So some things are unknown, but you only base it on what you know.
That's so
And
true.
when you're in love, your emotions are so clouded. You see nothing clearly.
Yeah.
And when you get married and the first fight you have and you know how to handle it and you look different at the person and she's not wearing makeup today and all this, you don't see the person the same way. But that's
Yeah.
actually where it's going to tell you, okay, is this relationship going forward or is it going backwards? And me and my wife, alhamdulillah, our values align. Of course, you can have some disagreements and arguments because you can never avoid it. But what we do afterwards, we just forget it. We let it go away. Because there's small things that you sometimes have an argument about, and we just let it go, have a joke, and move on. Literally, like that's what it's about. So the characteristics are really important, as you say, because this defines how you're going to handle all these situations, disagreements,
Yeah.
fights, in-laws, all these things. And if you don't have that part figured out with the person, then you should wait.
Everything you just said, I definitely agree with. And I think that a lot of people are gonna I hope they take this conversation if you are single, or even if you're currently married, this is all valid to you. Because a lot of the times, like if you're new, because the thing is, I was talking to one of my old coworkers, well, not my coworker who's still on admin leave. She was saying, me and my and she's like way older than I am. She's like in her 50s. She's like, me and my husband have never been in an argument before. But in my head, thinking like when she was like explaining to why that is, I'm like, that's not a good thing. Cause I'm like, it sounds like you're walking on eggshells with each other. I'm like, there's healthy
Yeah.
arguments. For example, like, okay, kids going to school, what school should they go to? Or for example, the kid, like I was definitely me like, growing up as a troublemaker. I was always in the office getting either in trouble talking to their principal. So I can only imagine, my parents having a conversation about that, or I could have caused harm. And I think is having healthy arguments with your significant other. Yes, it's really important because it's showing that you care, or like you're showcasing your opinion. But it's how we say certain stuff. You're not going to go start cussing and start using vulgar language towards your wife because
No,
you're
no, no,
upset.
no,
It's
no.
a way of expressing how you feel, even when you feel like you're dealt wrong, or she feels like she's dealt wrong. Even amongst your friendships, like the thing is too is like with our friends when you're younger, and I'm talking about from high school to even your college, university days. If you look back at yourself, you tell yourself, you're more tolerant, you're more tolerable of like the friends' antics that they do, like things that they do, because you're young. You just wanna have friends. When you get older, right, you get more wiser, regardless if you're married or not. You start to like tolerate less stupidity, foolishness, because you're like, I'm not that person no more. Like that person is dead. He's buried. I'm now a new man who's trying to get married, who's trying to like build a foundation. And I think with the whole emotional aspect, it's we all feel upset, mad, sad, whatever it is, and depending in this regard with our friends or even our significant others. But I believe a real man is able to control his anger. And Prophet Muhammad has always said, like, the best of men who are able to control their anger amongst their wives. And I think that's really important because, you can go to your friend and be like, someone who you've known your whole life, and be a little bit more aggressive because like something personal happened between you two. But you and your wife is now a test because you could easily respond with, a disrespectful way, but to like fully calm down and then express how you feel. It's like, hey, you made me feel like this, or I don't think we should do this. That's what a real man is. I think on social media, or even just you see on the media, wherever it might is, like they're always saying, man is like, you have the last word, you're alpha male. But I'm like, true leadership comes from also understanding emotion, understanding how people feel mentally. And I was talking about this the other day with my friend. Look at Pharaoh and look at like, as an example, let's use Umar al-Khattab. Both great leaders, both had wives, but look how one used fear to manipulate people, and one had justice. And I feel in the same sense, Pharaoh's wife was a believer, and she disagreed with everything he believed. And I think a lot of people always want to forget that. And I think that when it comes to dealing with someone's emotions, they're still a human being. Like, I always tell people, it's an amana to marry someone's daughter and not take care of her. She's not a toy you can get. Like you can, after 30 days, you can just go return. Like she's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
right.
100%. She took
She's a right.
responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, that's all I want to say. But yeah, she's a right.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, because even though, of course, even and that's really important for me. And that's why I tell some of my stories on my profile, that just because I tell these things doesn't mean that I won't make the mistakes myself sometimes. And
Uh-huh.
yes, I've been married for almost 10 years. So, of course, I can get angry sometimes because we are at different stage in our life where we get different tests, me and my
Uh-huh.
wife. So of course I can get angry, but I don't curse at her. That's a number one rule. I can't curse at her. I'm not gonna use manipulation just to get something that I want. We can say some, of course, sometimes we say some bad stuff to each other, but we don't take it that personal because we know we don't mean it. We're
Yes.
at that stage, so we can have big argument. Sometimes it can happen. But also, we have children now, and a lack of sleep and all these things. So there's a lot of emotions going on,
Mhm.
but we never leave it like and just ignore it. If we have a
Yeah,
problem, then we'll talk about it again after we calm down. And if it's something stupid, we're just gonna leave it.
yeah,
And that's also for me as a man in the house. I can't be like a woman, like emotion based only. I need to think logically. And I have to show them a path. I need to provide for them. I need to do these things. And when you do try to fulfill your obligation, it just feels more whole, the whole marriage. Instead
yeah,
of like, I do criticize a lot of people in the West, and I'm still gonna hold on to my opinion no matter what. But I criticize men who make their wives work. I hate that.
yeah, yeah,
I'm not saying that women aren't allowed to work part time if they want to work,
yeah,
but the husband shouldn't tell her to work because he has no right to tell her to work.
yeah,
Allah gave us the role to provide, and Allah didn't say, "Oh, if you live in the West, you're excused."
yeah,
No, you're gonna have to live that. You're gonna have to work, and if it's a difficult lifestyle you have, then do something different. Don't buy clothes every day or every week, or don't buy food outside all the time. Don't go to a restaurant all the time. You can have a good life,
mhm.
but just the necessary means. You don't need to have go to a restaurant, 5-star restaurant, whatever people do nowadays.
You're not the only person that criticizes people with that mindset of, like, people expecting their wives to work. Because I remember one time I was talking to a sister.
Yeah,
The conversation got brought up. She's like, "Do you care if I work or I don't?" I'm like, "No." Like, it doesn't bug me. I'm like, I would never force you to work, and I will never force you not to work." I'm like, "That's your decision."
yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
If you do not wanna work one day, cool. You do wanna work, up to you. 'Cause I'm never gonna take away your identity." And I feel like I think it's 'cause me and my friends always have a topic about expectations, and one of my friends was saying, he's like, well, it's actually this argument got pretty heated because it was me and 2 of my friends who I grew up with, and they were
Okay.
saying, "I expect my wife to cook." I'm like, "No," 'cause and one of my friends is Muslim. I told him, "Brother," I'm like, "You know that the role of the wife is not to cook for you. Stop saying you expect." I'm like, some girls don't know how to cook. So I'm like, you can sit with her and help her, like, in work. She's not your slave. And then it got really heated. He's like, and then because the conversation started of, you know, the topic between expectation and standards. I'm like, listen, there's two different things. Standards, you should be looking at, like, their character, their D, and certain things that you're actually looking for. Because I feel a lot of the times people look at marriage as a checklist. Oh, she knows how to cook, great. She has blue eyes, great. She's short, great. And then it's like, because she's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
she's checked off all those boxes, you start talking to her versus getting to know the actual person. Because you from 20 versus at 30 are a whole different person. You from 30 to 40 are a whole different person. You don't see life the way you once did. I told my friend, I'm like, if you meet a sister who's an amazing human being but doesn't know how to cook, you're not gonna marry her. And then he's like, well, she has to know how to cook. I'm like, brother, I'm like, go learn how to cook. It's a life skill. Go do that.
Yeah, but I did make one video once. Was that my wife needs to cook, my wife needs to clean,
Yeah.
something like that. If you expect her to do all these things, I said to the man, then fulfill your own first. And even for example, me, I hate to cook. I don't have any interest of cooking.
Mhm.
But the way I look at it is, unfortunately, I see a lot of sisters also like, I'm not gonna cook for my husband. It's like it's a competition.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is like I work for my family because I love to work for them. I love to provide for them. And I do the things that I have to do because I love to. And the same for my wife. She makes food for me because she loves me. She
Yeah.
cares for me. And of course, I will do when I wake up after Fajr and I stay up and then I'll make healthy pancakes for my children. I
Mhm.
do that. I didn't do that when I wouldn't do that before with the mindset I had because it was more
Yeah.
culture based. But you do have to work together. And if sometimes my wife asks me to cut the salad, help her, I'm going to do it. But I also told her that you can't expect me to, if I have to provide and all these things, like the time I need to spend because I chose to be self employed, I said to her, it's going to take a lot of time and it's draining. So I said, if you just would support me with just making something ready for me, I don't maybe tell you to make 6 meals or I have the perfect meal for myself. That's not what it's about. But whatever you make for the children, just make for something for me also. That's
Yeah.
that's why only thing I ask
Yeah.
for.
I agree with that
So
mindset.
yeah, because the thing is, oh, she needs to do that. I always tell the brother, okay, start with you having a job. And that's the thing again, if she works and you work, you can't even expect that. That's the least thing you can expect.
And I think that's my point, because you see sisters who are like, "Oh, I'll
Yeah,
never cook for my man," or "I'll never do this, I'll never do that," because that mindset they're taking away from their toxic friends who aren't married. It's funny, it's always the person who's not working, who's trying to quit your job or just to give up, and it's the person who's not
yeah,
married to tell you, that person is not good, even though because it's only one small argument, one small disagreement,
yeah,
but go talk to it. And I told my friend, I'm like, "Listen, because you mentioned the word love, and I really want to touch on it quickly. When the wife loves you, she'll cook for you, and when the husband truly loves his wife, he'll provide. He'll actually bring in money, and I feel that you have to have that both the understanding. So when brothers say, "I expect my wife to cook," then to your point, which I agree with, what are you bringing to the table? Are you gonna like if she asks you for something, are you gonna provide? Are you gonna work? Are you gonna work night and day? Because Allah has made you the provider. You're not some guy to go chill out, and even if you're a multi-millionaire, you're still there to like work. And people always want to forget that people always say, brother, I want a wife like Aisha or Khadija. I'm like, but you're not even you don't even resemble the qualities of the prophet or the companion. So I'm like, I don't want to hear it. Don't ask
Yeah,
for don't ask for a superstar when you yourself respectfully are nowhere near that. I'm like, there's nothing wrong
yeah.
with someone expecting his wife how to cook. However, like, I'm not one of those people. In my head, I'm like, if I know I'm not able to give you something, I have no right to expect something else that I'm not able that you want from me, I can't give. So I feel like it's a two-way street. I think that's why it's so important to not treat your marriage or in the beginning as a checklist and get to know each other. Because like some girls may not want to cook, and some girls may want to cook. Some guys don't want to work. Unfortunately, you have some men who do not want to work. Unfortunately.
Yeah, 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 I do. But also think, uh, regarding the love thing, like for example, the love that people feel in the beginning is gonna disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, when I look at my wife, it's not like butterflies. Like it's almost 10 years. It's not gonna be butterflies and all that. But she's become a part of me. Like it's literally like you cut me in half,
Yeah.
and you cut her in half, and you put those two together. That's how it is now. It's not like, for example, they were away for with my kids. She was away, and they were away for a long time, and I felt alone.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like, oh, my dear love. It's not like I'm not like that. I'm not that kind of. I don't see love the same way. For me,
Yeah.
the love is about it's connection.
Yeah.
Like me and my wife, we are making a path for us to go to paradise, and this
Mm-hmm.
can only happen in teamwork.
Yep.
But it's also happens to be the opposite gender that you think completely different from.
Yep.
Like the same in Islam, yeah, your friends can either lead you to Jannah or Jahannam.
For
The
sure.
same with your wife. And your wife is the closest one, not your friends. She's the one you share your home with. Is she conscious of these things? So that's where that kind of love that I believe in, if that makes sense. So there
Mm-hmm.
was just a extra add to the one you talk about love.
No, it definitely does, and I think it does make sense, and I think people like view love differently, and I don't like the thing is too is like even Sheikh Abdullah Dura talks about it as well about how like yeah love. Every person I spoke about who's married has told me like love fades over, not in the sense like you don't love your partner no more, but the whole feelings of butterflies or like he's like it's not always gonna be
Yeah.
there because
No. So
marriage
for
is
some it's
also
gonna be, for some it's never gonna come.
that's very true, and I think marriage is also responsibility. I feel the thing is I think people watch too many movies. That's what it is. People watch too many like Hollywood movies and
Bollywood.
Bollywood movies exactly, or even like any movies from Africa, like who talk about love, and I can honestly tell you for real is we need to get out of that mindset because they look at their love about like as Romeo and Juliet when in reality Allah when he talks about marriage he doesn't even mention the word love. It mentions like the word of tranquility, living amongst peace with one another, and like having affection and having mercy because mercy is a big thing. People don't even like underestimate it. In times of difficulty or times of like when you're both upset or like mad at each other, you have to know when to, especially mainly for the man to have mercy on his wife because she goes through a lot of emotions and other stuff as well. But that's why I feel like to your earlier point about a man has to work within himself before he even gets to that stage. Is because now even I would say more so now, brothers who are like in their 30s, early 30s, were not married, see a lot of them who have this toxic mindset because their friends are telling them things. Oh, you're the guy. You're the prize. You're this. You do this. That's why I always, subhanallah, like when I'd originally asked about marriage like years ago, I feel like Allah's put me in stages, like stages where I wasn't going out as much because I used to go out like 4 times a week with my friends, and then COVID happened. Then COVID was a blessing. Then it reduced, and then I would say certain people went out of my life naturally because I had asked Allah, is anybody who's not good in my life, let's take them out for the purpose of opening marriage. And like there was, every year I saw like this stage of like healing is like I always say this like not a joke, but back when I was 21 like 10 years ago, our family friends was asking me, so, like they were like speaking to me in Arabic, like Osama, you graduated school now, like where do you see yourself when you see yourself getting married? At 21 I was a kid. Like I'll look back at myself, me personally, I was just like I was always going out. That idea of marriage wasn't even in my head, and I think I was always cognizant of that, and I think that's why
So
people, yeah,
sorry, you go on.
they're going
No, yeah, I was just asking. So you are basically saying that you feel like Allah was making you ready, step by step.
step by step, yeah. Because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
'cause
okay.
I was already cognizant at 21 knowing I wasn't ready for marriage. Because I feel like culture for Arabs is this always it's like for I'm not sure if you have an Arab friend, but culture for Arabs is always like, get your education, get your degree, get your job, and then go, which
It's the
I
same for
kind of,
Pakistanis.
yeah. Because I grew up with a lot of like Pakistan, like I have a lot of Pakistani friends and like friends from like the South Asian culture. Like I have a lot of them. We always talk about this thing where get your education, get this. And a lot of parents really believe in that. And I guess any Muslim person from depending on the culture will definitely agree. But I feel me personally, I saw this drift from 24 to 25, I saw a huge drift. From 25 to 26, I saw a huge 26 or 27, 27, 28. Even to the point my sister one time famously said to me like last year, she's like, my favorite version of you is 30. She's like, you're like, this is like last year. She's like, my favorite version of you is 30. She's like, I feel like you've grown so much from your 20s. And I've sensed that as well. So I feel like, not like I was doing anything dumb, but I just feel like I've been focusing so much on myself. Also, I think the biggest mindset that was holding me back. And that's why I asked you the original question about about like you focusing on your career, people focusing on their career, because I was so career focused that I felt like I made marriage, I didn't really focus on it as much as I do now.
Yeah, and the fun thing is for me, it was completely the opposite. So I got married
Mhm.
in a stage where I wouldn't even recommend anyone to get married.
Mhm.
And even what you're saying, so the way I became a better husband is also stage by stage. Like these things happen while I was married.
Yeah.
We were expecting our first child like after 2 years, and that's when thought, okay, I'm gonna start my business now before she's gonna get born.
Yep.
And the stage I went through after my children was born, I was by just like things that I had to get rid of. I found out with time because when I grew with my deen, by time I just learned some of the things that I had in my life weren't Islamically permissible, and that's the same thing. It builds you. So the stage I am right now compared to when I started this journey, completely two different mindset.
Yeah.
Like at
Definitely.
that time, I wouldn't even handle all these situations that I experienced, like just in the past 3, 4 years. But I've been prepared slowly to let
Yeah.
go of some things because they weren't good for me. And that's what you realize with time. And I think also that's a part of why it happened to work in the way it did in my relationship. Because
Yeah.
normally these scenarios that I've experienced wouldn't work, like getting married immature, being different people, having so many issues. But we worked through them because I learned and started to give up things from this
Yeah.
dunya. I got more detached from this dunya and more
Yeah.
attached to my akhirah. And my akhirah is like my partner next to me who's going to help me on that journey.
I love that. Honestly, wallah. And I think this whole conversation, I hope people like listen to it and really like, and inshallah, the next time I have you on, inshallah, I'll be like
Inshallah.
engaged and married, inshallah. But I was gonna say just quickly to your point, yeah, I don't know. For me, like growing up, because I feel like I remember back when I was like I just graduated school at 21. I just wanted to go out and have fun. Like I just want to go out with my boys, have fun. Like, I think that's because we grew up with this cultural mindset that when you're ready, it's just like when you hear that, you're like you have time. And I feel like the one thing I'll teach my kids, inshallah, or even just like young brothers, I'm like, listen, you can definitely get married if you know you're able to take care of her on all routes. Like you are obviously mature enough to make that decision. But yeah, but I wanna before I let you go, I wanna play a fun game with you. We always ask our guests a couple questions to get you know a little bit more. And yeah, if you're cool with that. So we're just gonna ask
Go
you
on.
some fun questions, inshallah. And then yeah. So I guess the first question is what's your favorite meal to eat? If you can eat one meal for the rest of your life, you can never get bored of it. What is that meal?
The fun thing is, I don't really look at food as such level I'm eating, but what I do love to eat, pizza.
Pizza?
Yeah, I
I got
love
it.
pizza.
Pizza's amazing, especially when I'm like watching
Yeah.
sports. I start stress eating.
Yeah, exactly. So that's probably the one. You can never go wrong with that.
My next question for you is what's the best advice you've ever heard?
The best advice I ever heard. Oh, that's a tough one. Which one should I choose? I have this because we're talking about marriage. Like, there's probably a lot of, but my mom told me that you never truly know a person until you actually live with them.
That's so true. I love that.
Yeah, that's probably the one I can think of right now. Probably more than that, but just that's one tip for me.
What's the worst advice someone has ever told you?
The worst advice. This is personal to me. Don't leave your business.
Really?
Yeah,
My next question for you is if you do watch sports, I'm not sure if you're a sports guy, but what
not at
sports
all.
you don't watch sports at all? I don't know,
Not at all.
you gave me some sports vibes.
Nah, like workouts and such, calisthenics and such. I'm not
Yes.
into. So that's if that goes under the category, then
Yeah,
probably.
that's fair. Honestly, I misread that because you look athletic, but not like, oh, maybe you watch the sports. Let me ask that question.
Nah, I've never been into it really.
Uh,
I just
my la-
watch workouts and such. I
Workouts,
love
I'm the
to
same
get
way.
inspirations. So I'm not into football and soccer or whatever it is.
I didn't even watch that. Like, my sports that I mainly watch are just, like, hockey and then, American football and then, like, basketball.
Yeah, no, I'm not
Yeah,
even,
that's fair.
fighting sports, I'm not interested in it.
I watch MMA. Well, yeah, I when I'm able to. I have to stay up until 12 o'clock in the morning, so it's, like, not the easiest all the
Yeah,
time.
for me, it's just like two people hitting each other. Like, what's the point? So yeah, I don't really look into that.
That's so fair. My last question for you is: if there's a what place around the world do you want to visit that you haven't visited yet? Allahumma I mean, may Allah make it soon for you, inshallah. Basim, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed this conversation with you. Inshallah, we have to do a part two for
Barakallahu
people.
fik. Yeah,
Allahumma ameen.
inshallah.
Inshallah.
Thanks.